Hello Cowboys Nation, welcome to another video, and without further ado, let's get to another round of news from America's team. Possible replacements for Matt Eberflus as the Cowboys defensive coordinator in 2026. So we have to at least entertain this question at some point before the end of the year and ask ourselves, do we really think Matt Eberflus will be brought back in 2026? I totally understand that the players that he is working with are not the greatest after you trade a guy like Micah Parsons, but the writing is on the wall. The type of defense that he is trying to run is just not working. As the season comes to an end, a lot of coaches are going to be looking to move on or find a new spot on an expiring contract. Let's first say that nothing has come about whether Eberflus will be brought back yet or let go. These are just my thoughts. So with that said, who could be a couple of guys that Dallas could look at if they indeed move on from Matt? Brian Flores. The clear answer to this, and the guy who should be at the top of every single list, is Brian Flores. He has made that Vikings defense do amazing things over the last few years. The Flores defense ranks in the top 10 in both yards and points. His contract is up at the end of this season, and if he does not get looked at for a possible head coach with a team, Dallas should make the call. He will be the best on the market, but do you think he would leave the Vikings if offered to come back to go to a team that has the worst defense in football? Well, if you can make them at least average, you will have a way better offense on the other side in Dallas, so I think Jerry would offer him the assistant head coach title or something to get him in Big D. Al Harris. Al Harris is thriving over there in Chicago, and he is the guy that I wanted to be the defensive coordinator in Dallas, but instead they let Harris walk out the door. He is currently the passing game coordinator with the Bears, but when he was with Dallas under Mike McCarthy, he played a major part in why the defense, for the most part, was above average. The Bears would be able to decline an interview with Harris, but reports have also been out that the Washington Commanders are looking at him as well for their defensive coordinator job as well if Joe Wood Jr. gets fired out there. Harris is loved by a lot of folks inside the Dallas locker room, so he would be the second guy I would take a look at after Flores. Jim Schwartz. If you are the Cowboys, why not at least reach out to the Browns and see if they could speak with the Browns' defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz? The Browns seem to have a solid defense every single year, and yes, they have Myles Garrett, but he is a guy that has been a solid defensive mind for a long time. The Browns hired him in 2023, and it has been one of the bright spots for them over the last few years. All I am saying is if the Cowboys move on from Matt Eberflus, they should, hopefully, they have a handful of coaches that could be in play, and many more outside just these three I touched on. George Pickens thrusts himself into the Cowboys' record books in his first season. This time last season, the Cowboys failed to qualify for the playoffs, and eventually got head coach Mike McCarthy fired for it. McCarthy shouldn't take all the blame, but there always needs to be a scapegoat. Quarterback Dak Prescott missed time during the season, and that definitely contributed to the 7-10 record. However, even when Prescott was healthy, the team was not playing well enough to make any noise in the playoffs. The running game wasn't what it needed to be. Neither was pass protection, and one of the biggest flaws was not enough weapons on the outside. For the first time in what feels like forever, Jerry Jones and the rest of the front office staff seemed to have listened to the noise outside the building. The result was trading away a third-round pick to the Pittsburgh Steelers for wide receiver George Pickens. I can't type the words that I used during my first reaction after hearing the news, but let's just say I was excited. As was the rest of Cowboys Nation, because pairing Pickens with CeeDee Lamb gave us visions of the best wide receiver duo in the NFL. The way those visions have come to fruition makes it even more disappointing the Cowboys did not make the playoffs. George Pickens, in just his first season in Dallas, has already inserted himself into the Cowboys' record books, and has a chance to add to it this Sunday at the New York Giants. Any player who can claim they are on any list of records for the storied Dallas Cowboys franchise is already in good company. Pickens, who currently sits with 1,420 yards receiving through 16 games, has already catapulted himself into the Dallas Cowboys single-season record books. If the season ended today, the first-year Cowboy would rank fourth in franchise single-season receiving yards, knocking Dez Bryant out of the top 5. It is an incredible feat, especially considering Pickens has CeeDee Lamb lined up across from him, whom he has to share targets with. Pickens stepped up in a big way with Lamb sidelined for 4 games, so his success cannot be tied to Lamb being on the field. With 1 game left in New York, Pickens needs 104 yards to pass Michael Irvin's 1991 season total to move into 3rd place in franchise history. That number is certainly attainable, considering he has hauled in more than 104 yards already 5 times this season. George Pickens has been a blessing to Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and the rest of the offense in 2025, and his accomplishments need to be recognized and rewarded. It's going to be an interesting offseason for the Cowboys front office, with several key decisions to make regarding the roster and coaching staff. Among the key decisions for the team are the futures of star players like breakout wide receiver George Pickens, leading rusher Javonte Williams, and kicking sensation Brandon Aubrey. Unfortunately for Dallas, there is only one franchise tag at the team's disposal, so the remaining players will either hit the open market or agree to long-term deals. Currently, it looks like Pickens is the leader in the clubhouse for the franchise tag. But how much would that cost the Cowboys? According to Over the Cap, the projected franchise tag figure for a wide receiver in 2026 is $28 million. For Pickens' new deal, meanwhile, Spotrac projects Pickens could land a 5-year, $153 million contract on the open market, which averages $30.8 million per year. That would make Pickens the 6th highest paid receiver in the league, per Over the Cap. The figures are close enough that if the Cowboys are serious about retaining Pickens for the future, they will be able to do so. Dak Prescott has already campaigned for Pickens' return, along with Brian Schottenheimer and Jerry Jones, who have both said they would love to bring the star wideout back. Regardless of what direction the Cowboys go with Pickens, his future appears to be in Dallas, at least for the 2026 season. Let's just hope something can be worked out long-term. Thank you for watching until the end. Like, comment and subscribe to the channel.